Your question, who voted for this? The people in South Florida, the Venezuelan community, the Cuban American community, the Nicaraguan American community voted for this. And for us, this is a very, very happy day when we see a dictator who has been part of oppressing and abusing the Venezuelan people for 25 years. When we see him in handcuffs and held to some sort of accountability, it brought me into tears. It brought me great joy. And, you know, I live in South Florida.
I'm a Venezuelan that lives in the United States and is a Democrat. Why are you guys on Venezuelans right now? You guys are just being so rude. And yeah, it was Trump. He got him. Am I super happy it was him? No. But you gotta give credit where credit is due.
And then in terms of our almost all Venezuelans elated that we got this tyrant out, I would say 99.9%. The 1% is likely Maduro's inner circle.
It's a feeling that I can explain it. It's a lot that's going on Venezuelan hearts today. Venezuelans are suffering for many, many years, and nobody can understand that. And today, finally, we have a hope.
We are literally threatening a regional war in Latin America. What? So that President Trump can pretend that he's like this great warrior?
There are people who, at the protests, right, in New York, they were saying free Maduro, and they were talking
Send them to Cuba. let them live in Cuba or Venezuela for a day. They won't say they won't say that again. Let them live there a month, and they will say that again. That's for sure.
Bonnie's View. This is Tales with a Twist, episode 8, and the title of this episode is Concerned, Confused, and Crying on Cue. This is your girl, Ella. I hope you all haven't missed me too much. I know, I've been a little quiet. I stepped away for a bit, touched some grass, watched the world completely lose its mind, and honestly, I missed you guys. So anyway, let's get right into it. Before we get into it, be sure to check out our coverage of U.S. strikes in Nigeria, where we break down why Sokoto was the first target, and why that matters. As you all know, Democrats have a very special talent. Somehow, some way, they always manage to land on the wrong side of history. So while Venezuelans around the world are celebrating the capture of their dictator, a man who turned their country into a narco-state,
but at the other protests, Venezuelans, they argue very different. Just a few blocks away from the White House, it was a completely different scene as a large group gathered in support of the move made by Donald Trump. Now, they were mostly all from Venezuela, having lived there for years before fleeing to come to the States, leaving behind family in hopes for a better life.
It's a feeling that I can explain it. It's a lot that's going on Venezuelan hearts today. Venezuelans are suffering for many, many years, and nobody can understand that. And today, finally, we have a hope that definitely we know that it's gonna be good.
I've been waiting for this day for the last 26 years of my life. Imagine how important this is. Without the support of the United States, we had never arrived to this place. We did everything. We fight with our heart. We lost our friends. They tortured our friends. They put in prison our families. I was a political prisoner, and we did everything. We applied all the nonviolence movement techniques, but this regime is a criminal regime, and only with the use of force is the only language that they understand. So we will always thank the United States for making this happen.
American liberals decided this was the moment to lecture Venezuelans about what dictatorship really means. Yes, from the comfort of studio chairs and Ivy League zip codes, they suddenly know better than people who actually lived it.
Protesters gathered at Minnehaha and Lake in Minneapolis to speak against President Trump's strikes on Venezuela and the capture of President Maduro and his wife. Organizers say Trump is escalating the war and is lying about rampant drug trafficking claims, claiming a UN report recognized Venezuela as being free of illicit drug crops. Protesters say they think the war is a way to take control of Venezuela's oil.
We are literally threatening a regional war in Latin America. What? So that President Trump can pretend that he's like this great warrior? This is ridiculous.
And Venezuelans, well, they're politely telling them to back off.
I'm a Venezuelan that lives in the United States and is a Democrat. Why are you guys on Venezuelans right now? You guys are just being so rude. Like, do you know how many deaths this man has, how much blood he has on his hands? And yeah, it was Trump. He got him. Am I super happy it was him? No. But you gotta give credit where credit is due. Like, he did what no one thought I never thought I would live to see this. Ever. Like, I'm in shock. And it makes me sad that you guys are just like saying he was a sovereign president. He wasn't. He was a dictator.
Let's start with someone who actually lived it. Not a panel, not a studio. Reality.
Okay. As a Venezuelan American, I got some shit to say. My family, my parents, my sister, my extended family, all lost everything. Their work, their savings, their investments, gone. Wiped out by a narco-dictatorship that has held Venezuela in a death grip for over 25 years. And what happened to my family has happened to millions, and yes, millions. The Venezuelan exodus is the second largest displacement crisis on earth after Syria. This is not just a tragedy. It is one of the great humanitarian disasters of our time. But the suffering doesn't end there. This regime has jailed hundreds of political prisoners. Thousands have been murdered simply for speaking out. More than a third of the population has fled. 1/3. Not for better opportunities or for the American dream, but to survive, to live, because staying often means death. And while the world may see Venezuela as a collapsed state, what it is in reality is an occupied one. Our territory, our natural resources, and our institutions have been overrun by hostile foreign powers. Iranian militias, Chinese corporations, Russian intelligence, all exploiting our country with impunity. Venezuela is no longer just a local crisis. It is now a geopolitical threat that endangers the entire Western Hemisphere.
And if you think these Democratic positions just magically appeared because midterms are coming up, no, this has been the energy for years.
Breaking tonight, the 29-year-old socialist from Queens, the woman considered the brightest star in the Democratic Party, refusing to call a murderous, brutal dictator for what he is, a murderous, brutal dictator. When asked today whether Venezuela's notorious Nicolás Maduro is a dictator, she refuses to label him as such, saying, and I quote, "So I think this is absolutely a complex issue. I think it's important that we approach this very carefully."
Sorry.
I'm Christian. I'm going to be with Channel 11 News.
Oh, great.
As a Democratic socialist, I'm wondering if, what are your thoughts on the Venezuelan crisis that's happening right now, and if you would denounce the Maduro regime?
Yeah, so I think that this is absolutely a complex issue. I think it's important that that we approach this very carefully. One, I'm myself, just like anyone else, who is absolutely concerned with the humanitarian crisis that's happening. And I think it's important that any solution that we have centers the Venezuelan people and centers the democracy of Venezuelan people first. I am very concerned about U.S. interventionism in Venezuela, and I oppose it.
Ah, yes, the vintage take, American interventionism. That was 6 years ago, y'all. Back when Venezuela collapsing was still America's fault somehow. 6 years later, same script. Just fewer excuses left. Not to be outdone, Massachusetts Representative Seth Moulton tried to introduce a resolution back in November or December to block President Trump from accessing money to send U.S. special forces to Venezuela. While he was still planning the resolution, January 3rd came, President Trump did his thing, and Maduro is now in U.S. custody.
We are introducing legislation to prohibit the administration from spending a single dollar to send U.S. troops into direct hostilities with Venezuela unless Congress specifically authorizes it.
Sir, the meeting's already ended. And then, because no geopolitical moment is complete without them, here come the ladies of The View, America's most trusted source for in-depth foreign policy analysis. Nothing says informed like asking what's going on after it already happened. And Sunny Hostin always relishing an opportunity to antagonize President Trump, was not happy about yet another Trump win. In her usual Trump derangement spirit, she accused him of violating international law.
So what is this all about?
I can speak to the legal part of it. I think Anna can certainly speak to the geopolitics of it all, but it's not legal to do this.
Tell people why not.
Well, it's not legal because it violates international law.
Your question, who voted for this? The people in South Florida. The Venezuelan community, the Cuban American community, the Nicaraguan American community voted for this. And for us, this is a very, very happy day when we see a dictator who has been part of oppressing and abusing the Venezuelan people for 25 years, when we see him in handcuffs and held to some sort of accountability. It brought me into tears. It brought me great joy. And, you know, I live in South Florida.
But are you okay with the way that it was done?
But you can, I think both things can be true.
Okay.
I think you can criticize and ask questions and have concerns about the way it was done and what this means in the future.
Right.
And I think you can still celebrate that this murderous, corrupt, sadistic son of a bitch is out of Venezuela. Because he has... I think there's 8 million Venezuelan exiles all over the world.
Ana Navarro said something extremely dangerous here. Two things can be true at the same time. She said people in Florida voted for this, and she even shed tears of joy. Now, I never thought Anna and I would ever have something in common, but I was celebrating for Venezuelans too, just minus the tears. And Sunny, you can practically hear her thinking, how dare anyone celebrate something Trump did? And you could literally see the disappointment travel across the table. And then over at MSN, DNC, or MS then, or MS now, honestly, who can keep up? The mood was somber.
Start first, though, with my colleague Rachel Maddow, host of MS Now's The Rachel Maddow Show. Rachel, thank you for joining us and welcome to the show. You've been following this all morning. What do you make of this? It's a very, very big development in a months-long effort against Venezuela.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to hear what the president has to say in his remarks from the White House that are planned for just a little under an hour from now. Ali, I feel like in your heart of hearts, when you think about what the United States just did, I think there are very few Americans right now who have any idea why the United States did this.
Rachel Maddow looks like she just lost a close friend. Apparently that friend is the narrative. And for once, someone actually asked Venezuelans how they felt.
Venezuelan American journalist Mariana Atencio joins us now. Thank you very much, my friend, for joining us. I know how much in demand you are, and this is a big moment. How widespread do you think is that thought that it doesn't matter how it happened? Now we have a chance.
Chris, firstly, I want to thank you for the platform, because one of the major criticisms that I have about the mainstream media coverage of the story is the lack of Venezuelan voices on shows. And every time they show anti-Maduro protesters, there's not a single Venezuelan in the crowds of protesters that they're showing. So I commend you for that, my friend. And then in terms of almost all Venezuelans elated that we got this tyrant out, I would say 99.9%. The 1% is likely Maduro's inner circle.
99.9% are elated, but somehow the other 0.1% is always on TV. Funny how clarity works when communism chased you out of your country. And finally, a message for America's spoiled, bratty professional protesters, the ones who've never had to live under what they're protesting for.
There are people who, at the protest, right, in New York, they were saying free Maduro, and they were talking
Send them to Cuba. let them live in Cuba or Venezuela for a day. And they won't say they won't say that again.
When you see protesters saying that it's an illegal war, or Democrats angry about it.
We just don't pay attention, because as Venezuelans, we are the only ones that understand what's going on. So we just don't pay attention to them.
Let them live there a month, and they will say that again. That's for sure. Yeah, people who say that doesn't know how to live in a communist regime or a dictatorship, you know?
That's not a slogan. That's an invitation. So here's the twist. The people who lived it are celebrating, and the people who never did are very concerned. Funny how that works. And that, my friends, is Tales with a Twist, episode 8. This is your girl, Ella, signing out. Peace.
just wanna feel your love. I just wanna know how you feel, baby. I just wanna go where your love take me. Leaving while you leave me, leave me. No